Talking about that, I've come across all my favourite tweets. So I think you can probably name quite quickly who this is. A great OPEC tip is to set your phone facial recognition to your cum face, so at least if you get a $5 wrench attacked, they have to wank you off first.
Boom. Full house. That's right. Full house for bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit. Brought to you by the usual suspects. Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and surprise, surprise, Pod 123, easy as ABC, Mrs. No Show, nowhere to be seen.
See, there we go. We get an intro this week, don't we? I told Mr. Olin we better put music over it to hide the fact of how bad it was.
I don't think no one can get over the fact that you didn't come back to the pod with like luscious locks and turkey. We all just just a long, maybe just a long ponytail, leave everything else bald, and just a ponytail in the back.
Well, the problem is, like, you're talking about luscious locks from turkey. It's like, is that the mindset of a Bitcoiner?
Well, who knows? Like,
maybe you might have hit your moon.
You might have just paid in kind. You know, we know how much those lips make you on a Saturday night.
Talking about that, I've come across all my favorite tweets. So I think you can probably name quite quickly who this is. A great OPEC tip is to set your phone facial recognition to your cum face, so at least if you get a $5 wrench attacked, they have to wank you off first.
God, which genius tweeted that out?
Someone who's probably got no job.
He's got too much time on his hands.
Well, did you see the tweet below that as well that I did today?
Oh no.
Go on. Have a look.
Just 1 minute.
He's gone to
I actually got that sent to me by a mutual friend. Laughing his head off, and I was just like, brilliant. So you got another one below it. But how do you get into your phone to pay for your groceries without being banged up for indecent behaviour? You don't, and you stack more sats of that money you save when you get home.
Yeah, but the other tweet.
I see. People think the best thing you can do to stop climate change is be vegan, but they're wrong. It's being a cannibal. Eat just one person, reduce your carbon footprint by 100%. Really want to make a difference? Eat a pilot. Has it been one of these days today?
Yeah. Basically, what was happening is I was watching Frankie Boyle's special on YouTube, and they're both his jokes. I bastardized them a bit and made them Bitcoin friendly.
Nice.
So I thought they'd. I was just pissing myself watching Frankie Boyle. There's so many epic jokes in it, and
Mrs. All-In was saying, Mr. All-In, why the fuck can't you go and get a job so you're not looking at these random videos on YouTube?
She was picking up one of the kids from school, so I had a spare 40 minutes entertaining the baby. I'm like, Frankie Boyle's special, 38 minutes. Oh yeah. Then gave him no credit. Just tweet it out, steal the jokes, proper joke thief. But I was just pissing myself watching it. So I'm like, I've got to nick some of these. Like these are too good to not be reused.
Dr. Evil 10%, can you see this as our life in the future? Just joke stealing and thinking, I have nothing better to do.
It'd be glorious. But the problem is, I think I'd have to pretend to still have a job, so the wife wasn't trying to spend the sats. So I mean, her approach is like, "Oh, but it gets to this price. Will you sell some?" No. What's the point? I don't want some dollars or pounds. They're going to zero.
Yeah, they are going to zero. Hold on to them. Hold on to your sats.
Problem is, obviously, whenever people say this, it's like it just means you're not living on a Bitcoin standard. That's what it means. If you're holding fiat and spending that, then that's still technically Bitcoin, right? Because you could have converted that fiat into Bitcoin. So it's the same thing. Spending fiat or spending Bitcoin, it's literally the same thing. It's just slightly more of a headache because it's a taxable event, but it's good that it's a taxable event because it means you made gains. So sometimes I literally buy Bitcoin and then I'm literally selling parts of it a week later. But and what? I don't want to hold fiat. I really don't like having money, like large amounts of money in a bank account. I'm literally waiting for those banks to collapse, right? Because we talk about it, right? And I was talking to someone actually on Twitter about this the other day, and I think they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm 95% in Bitcoin." It's something about the wife's is nervous. I'm like, yeah, I'd be nervous too. Like, I mean, 5% in fiat, how risky? He's like, yeah, I don't think fiat's going to collapse without me noticing. But I'm like, yeah, fiat won't collapse without you noticing. There's going to be lots of things that happen first. But one of the first things that does happen when fiat starts collapsing is they freeze and stop withdrawals from bank accounts. so it's like you need to predict it first. Otherwise, you end up with large amounts of money. Obviously, that's why pensions are going to be fucked, right? That's why we always talked about that. So they're long-term stuck. So that's you're betting that they don't collapse in the next 30 years.
Well, we had a law for anyone not from UK where you have to contribute a certain amount. So your company has to contribute, is it 5%? And as an individual, you have to contribute 3%. So it is forced out of your account into this pension now.
You can opt out.
No, they would just not pay you that money, I think.
Yeah. I think if you don't pay in, I mean, they don't have to match it.
Yeah, but I think you've got to pay in.
I think it's a 3% or
yeah,
something.
It's a government law now.
Yeah.
Well, I know my brother, for example, he's just left the NHS and gone to another company, and they enrolled him
in young MBA.
Young MBA. So, but he got enrolled in their pension scheme without realizing they took 5% of his salary away, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" So got out. So now he contributes 0 again. But I don't know if. So I think they just made it more complicated, but yeah, he's not contributing to his.
Yeah, I do worry about, as I mentioned, a family member that they are solely relying on their pension. They're counting down the years for the pension to be there, and she's indoctrinated with the banks, kind of like digital dad's son. And all the time I'm obviously orange pilling, dropping the vibes, and she's not having any of it whatsoever. And I'm like, I'm worried for you, genuinely worried for you, because you've been pinning your hopes on this life after work, and it's not going to be there. And it's not going to be there in the way that you feel like it's going to be there. She's looking at it weekly, as we may do with regards to the Bitcoin price of, oh yeah, this is how much I've stacked this month, and this is how much my total pot is. But ultimately that pot will dwindle down because of inflation, and it won't buy and allow her to survive off what she has.
Yeah. And obviously, like we've said, it's probably going to get taxed to oblivion. But the good thing is about this whole 5%, it's beautiful. When you get that 5% back, it just makes it super easy to make that part of your DCA. Straight away, you can go, right, that 5% of my stack was just getting stolen from me and going into this pot that I may or may not see when I'm 65. Whereas just move it out, start stacking sats. And literally, obviously my brother's a great example of it. He's been stacking the last 3 or 4 years directly instead of a pension. And he's probably going to retire in his 30s because he did that, as opposed to having money stuck in a pot that he wouldn't have seen until his 60s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not only is it just great for short-term gains, which isn't even why he's doing it, really. It's and why we tell people to do it. It's the number one thing is to take control of that money. Just put it into an ISA yourself or something and put it into the same fund that your pension's in. Just take it yourself and put it in that ISA. At least you own it that way. You've taken a huge step forward just by doing that. But people have their risk profile all upside down. They've got Bitcoin at the top as high risk, and they've got pensions down the bottom as low.
Yeah.
And you literally need to turn that on its head. Pensions are the highest risk purely because you don't get to see it for 30 years. Like, it's just that is a very you're hoping that the entire system stays afloat and solvent for 30 years. And yeah, that's a hell of a bet.
It's indeed.
Anyway, should we get on to the good old agenda?
Let's do it. Feels like we've not been all together for a while, so yeah, let's start. Luke Dash Jr. Explains how to stop JPEG spam on Bitcoin is our first story. So one that you put on the agenda, naturally, from X. So inscriptions are exploiting a vulnerability in Bitcoin Core to spam the blockchain. Bitcoin Core has since 2013 allowed users to set a limit on the size of extra data in transactions they relay or mine. Data carrier size by obfuscating their data as program code. Inscriptions bypass this limit. What does all of that mean?
Yeah, so basically
he wants to control is what I've taken from it. You know, like this is a guy who we spoke about last week in regards to his mining pool, where he wanted to put ordinals or rather JPEGs out. Whereas this, from my understanding, he wants to cut out a few more things. So he wanted to cut out ordinals as well. It's a new way of doing it. So rather than controlling the miners, it's controlling the code. But also he wants to remove a couple of other functions. So I think it's Samurai Wallet, where it talks about coin join transactions and bit 47. So these are two privacy elements which people use. So coin join is, throw your Bitcoin in, washed around, you get some out. I mean, it means that they can't be traced back to you, or the kind of like theory is. And bit 47, if I'm correct, is basically having an identification on the Bitcoin network, but it's encrypted. So it's kind of like taking away these kind of like privacy measures because they don't fit into his 46 byte return. And I think these are used on 80, which fit the Bitcoin standard. So what I'm unsure of, which I'd like to know more about, is he aiming for these, or is he just taking them out because he's trying to take out ordinals so much?
Yeah, that's largely it. Yeah. So what he's describing here is obviously now that he runs a mining company, and obviously Luke Dasher, like, by the way, he's a massive coder. Probably he's the lead developer on SegWit. So he's been a Bitcoin Core contributor and he's added a huge amount to Bitcoin over his time. And he's definitely in the OG category. But he's come up a lot of heat against this one because, yeah, he's essentially saying there's spam in the blockchain, which is causing Bitcoin fees to go up. And as we know, that has happened because of Taproot, unfortunately. Taproot enabled more data to be stored in each transaction. Ideally, it was supposed to be used for privacy and enabling to better way of kind of getting more transactions in a block and just improving Bitcoin just by a tiny amount. Taproot was just to knock everything up a little bit. But the bug or the side effect that's come from Taproot is suddenly now NFTs or ordinals. I think they're just calling them ordinals just because they know NFT is such a toxic word now. But they're NFTs, and people are putting NFTs into Bitcoin transactions, and it is causing the Bitcoin fee to go up, and it's annoying a lot of people, especially Luke. So Luke is proposing a new Bitcoin Core release that essentially takes this extra block or extra data that can be stored inside a transaction and reducing it down significantly. So essentially there's no room to store a link to an NFT anymore. And Samurai essentially going, well, hold on, this would also potentially censor CoinJoin transactions as well, which is what Samurai Wallet that's their core use case for their product. But Luke disagrees with that. He goes, you don't need, because obviously before Taproot, you could do CoinJoin, Samurai worked. So his argument is you could do it before, you can do it now. And he's explained it technically why you still can just do CoinJoin. So I'm not technical enough to know who's lying here. Samurai say, nah, he's trying to stop us. And he's actively, we need 80 bytes in op return. He's cutting us down to 42. That means we couldn't do it. And he's already ocean mining, already we can see that they are siphoning out and rejecting our transactions. So who knows? It might be just a bit of a teething problem that Ocean have got this very set mindset of that this should just be Bitcoin traveling from A to B, and they're the only transactions that they will process, and accidentally have included Samurai in that, thinking that that's an ordinal spam. So they could just quite easily just correct that and go, oh, okay, that's a Samurai transaction. We'll let those in. It's just a little tweak of their code. But yeah, he's also, obviously, Luke is proposing an update to Bitcoin Core.
But I suppose it's, do we really want an update after what happened last time?
That's everyone else's same argument. Yeah, it's come on, we've introduced a silly bug here by increasing this. Let's not be silly and rush through a fix, because I think with this ordinal spam and NFT spam, it's like, let the market just play out. Right, we know they have no value, and they largely has already played out. I think there is still some transactions going through, but kind of who cares? We know that like the NFT.
I mean,
payment
you've got the kind of like don't care, let it be. But what about the kind of like rollback? Could Taproot be rolled back, or the benefits which we'd lose?
No, it's very difficult. So that would be another hard fork to take it out again. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be risky as well. Well,
so it's better to let it play out and then ultimately use the networks as they should be used. So looking at the Bitcoin for the move and the gold, using Lightning as a kind of like Visa network, and then, you know, as they build it, the Fed meant to actually improve that Visa network. So like your day-to-days, you're barely getting any cost because it's going through the Lightning network for anyone who's listening, who's not really understanding. Whereas your big hauls, the kind of stuff which is your retirement funds, your pension, an actual pension this is, or buying a house, you move on the Bitcoin network, which will have larger fees, but it's got higher security, and ultimately it's not something that you do day to day.
Yeah. And it's I must admit, I'm torn on what we should do, really. Because like Luke seems sensible in his responses, but then Samurai basically just going, he's lying, and he's blocked us, he won't talk to us. But I know Samurai are very toxic in their way that they ask questions. You know, they're proper like hardcore Bitcoiners, all about privacy in their OPSEC. But yeah, because it's like people are asking questions like, okay, so if basically someone's posed the proposition to him to go, if Bitcoin can't stand a bit of NFT spam, how are we supposed to withhold against a nation attack? You know, imagine the US wants to just clog up the Bitcoin network. It has virtually infinite money. It could buy a load of, just pay shit tons, billions every day just to spam the Bitcoin network, right? And Luke's response is that this is how we withstand it, you know, by taking stuff like this out. So it's a very good argument, really, to go, well, hold on, Bitcoin should be.
The miners just go kind of ignore these nonsense transactions and therefore take away the traffic.
Yeah, well, obviously he's ignoring it, but the majority of miners aren't. So his proposed change is to cut that the op return down from 80 to 42, which stops a lot of the possibility for spam. So he's going now.
But mainly,
it puts Bitcoin back to where it was, basically, because you couldn't spam Bitcoin before. Like, you just have to send Bitcoin around to yourself, which was expensive to do, and there's no real upside. But once you could attach a JPEG link to it, now suddenly that has more value. So you're fine with paying $10 a time to send a transaction to each other, because these NFTs are potentially worth thousands.
I suppose in time you look at the kind of like spamming, and yeah, let's not change Bitcoin because, well, it's risky, but also let's use the spam. So someone like the US government wants to spam a network, take the money, use the Lightning Network to live daily. And then when it comes to the time where the dollar's worth nothing, we're not going to be able to afford to buy the Bitcoin with the dollar, are they? So I suppose in time it plays itself out. They supplement and fund the Bitcoin network with spam.
Yeah. Or you change it so Bitcoin is much harder to spam.
But
That's
then it's another potential improvement, isn't it?
I know it's why literally I always come back to the thing of it. Even when Taproot's going live, I'm like, yeah, this looks good, but I'm like, there's always a risk that there's something happens that we can't see right now. Like we should just leave Bitcoin as close to Satoshi's like original code as possible. So we changed it, and we got all these minor improvements around scalability and privacy. And then boom, we enabled NFTs and spam on the chain now. And you go, fuck, if we'd have known that before, would we have still done it? And I think the argument probably would have been no, we probably wouldn't. You go, we should have fucking left it alone, shouldn't we?
Yeah, and just gone with the layers, like the lightning layer, and then like I said, the one which I think is probably will show when Bitcoin's ready to go fully live is Fedimint. Like you bring in those layers which aren't on the Bitcoin network.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay, let's move on from that little bit of drama because I must admit I don't know where I am on it. So we've got a new Bitcoin wallet launched. So is it the one?
This is one which has been on the cards for, is it 2 years?
This is the one we've been waiting for, man. This is from Jack Dorsey. This is potentially going to be, the iPhone of Bitcoin wallets, right? Everyone's super excited about it. BitKey.
It looks very sexy.
Yeah, I don't know if it. I'm looking at. I don't know if it does it for me. I mean,
you could hide it in your rocker.
Yeah, 160.
Leave it outside.
No one's gonna know. So be like, oh, that's a nice rock.
Yeah.
I think
skims it across your pond. Like, no.
I think the looks wise it's obviously it's trying to make itself stand out in the kind of like hexagon rockery kind of like look. But I believe that it's basically the 3-factor verification. So I think you need 2 of the 3. So it's a server, is it biometrics and phone? So you work 2 of them together in order to get on. So, oh yeah, for whatever your key is on the server, you've forgotten. So you use your phone, you use your biometrics.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be kind of like trying to work on that bridge between let's make Bitcoin secure, but make it secure externally. We kind of think we've currently got our seed words, you've got your ledger, you forget your code, you have a house fire, you've lost all your Bitcoin. So this is kind of like just, I suppose, Jack Dorsey's evolution. I like it. I wouldn't buy it myself because I don't like the whole server thing. I don't like the fact that one key sits with that, and then literally it is a $5 wrench attack away from getting your phone or your biometrics or whatever your key is, even if they do have to wank you off.
Yeah, apparently this has got.
Leaving your door open tonight. It sounds like.
That's happened again.
Yeah.
3 times this week.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, apparently like so. Willie, Jack announced this right on his Twitter. Elon replied saying, "Not your keys, not your wallet." So he got the meme slightly wrong. It's meant to be not your keys, not your coins, or not your cheese, whichever, but not wallet.
Cheese.
But not, it's not wallet. But anyway, because interestingly, this is it's a halfway house. It's a very, I'm not sure. I think this is almost a product looking for a use case, unfortunately, because
I think it'll appeal to certain people. So you got to think the people who are, I'm not technical, I'll struggle with this. It's kind of like
they'll just leave it on their wallet or on the exchange.
Yeah, but I feel this is trying to get to that zone where you got the people who will have the air gap computer. They'll make sure that they can get it on securely. No one can touch their Bitcoin. They just have it written in metal words, and then they split it into quarters. They bury it into different corners of the world. I mean, you got the normal people with their ledger and seed phrases on metal, and then I think this is just catering for another kind of like use case. And I think there is there. but it's just what is the size of that market, and especially if we hit the EFT market over the next year, the popularity is going to surge in Bitcoin. So I think it will be there, but at the moment, I don't think current Bitcoiners in the market will be looking at this, but it's looking at that segment which comes in. And then obviously you have the people who leave it on the exchange, and then the government blocks them taking it off the exchange and says they need to confiscate it. Here's some paper money instead.
Yeah, because the biggest
like
down
a stepping stone, and pun intended, to those in the retail market to get them effectively on the way. Because with all technology, you get version 1.0, don't you? So effectively, this is the way to get them down the rabbit hole, albeit it's not the most secure because part of the password is with them, but it's a way, isn't it, to get them
Yeah,
there.
because you think we're probably still on V2. Like
Yeah.
V1 was where it has to be a pure developer to get the Bitcoin off Mt. Gox and then store it securely, whereas most people left it on a computer, chucked out the computer because they forgot, and then can't find it in the landfill. And then you've got the ledgers and the seed phrases, which is where we are. And this is the attempt at the V3. And it's just, for me, I'm kind of going, I don't like it, but I think it will appeal to those new retail, because we called it the retail boom in 2000, was it 17?
17, yeah.
Whereas now we're going to 2024 for the next halving. Well, it'll probably be 2025. And that's going to be, it's a financial institutions plus the rest of the retail. This is the big part of the retail potentially coming in.
Yeah. The biggest security problem that people have with this product as well is there's no screen on the device. Why that is such a problem is for anyone that sent Bitcoin using a hardware wallet, they all have screens now. They didn't originally. And it was a huge security flaw, because what can happen is either your phone or your laptop can get compromised. So when you go to send some Bitcoin, you paste in your Bitcoin address, you press send, but behind the scenes, your computer is compromised. So it looks for Bitcoin addresses, and every time one is pasted, it will change it to the hacker's Bitcoin address. So you haven't potentially noticed that if you haven't seen it on the screen, or sometimes it can be even smart and paste the correct address on the screen, wait for you to submit the screen, and then it changes it on the fly, changes it on the kind of the execution of that code. So why the device now, all hardware wallets have screens, is that it gives you the second check. It comes up on the screen to go, you're sending this much Bitcoin, you're sending it to this address, and also, which is very important, is the fees, because that was also a way of them scamming you. And so 2 things to check there, basically. Number 1, is the send address the one that you pasted in? Because it might have looked correct on the screen, but when you press send, it changed it. The device will tell you the address it's actually being sent to. So that's a great way of changing it. But then you have this the malicious attack, where they're not trying to steal your Bitcoin, they're just trying to get you wrecked. And a great way of wrecking someone is you basically go, oh yeah, the send address is correct, but we'll change the fee. The fee that you pay. And this happened to loads of people. Basically be sending, like, say, 1 Bitcoin from one address to another or something, and the fee should be, less than $1. And they change it to go, no, the send is $1 and the fee is basically the full Bitcoin. So you pay a Bitcoin fee and receive $10 at the other end. So you just donate a Bitcoin to the miners. And what the hell are you guys doing? I can't fucking do it. My screen must have frozen. It wasn't frozen at my end. You guys were frozen. But so yeah, there's a funny picture of me in the chat. And then now I've lost my train of thought. You both weren't listening. And I was explaining something very fundamental about how
but it froze. It looked like it was your cum face. Let's just
let the viewers know. Let's just put it out there. It's like,
could I unlock your phone with that?
I know. Don't save that picture. That's my $5 wrench attack. Can you get in the phone? That's what the evening.
going back to your
Mrs.
point.
All in, I feel sorry for you.
I don't feel sorry for me. I can't see it.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for her.
But it's a good point which I haven't really thought about with the lack of screen. So, you know, I think that's actually
It's
the
a really
biggest
good
flaw.
point.
Um,
I
but
mean, I
think,
did a
but I
small
think
transaction the other day just between like double checking, does it still work? So I sent some off my ledger to Coinbase and then back. Yeah, it still works. It's there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, do check. I definitely check. And
It's
even though
funny
you think,
because like those little USBs that you're using, right? They're not really doing anything, right? It's just, they're so like they're almost noddy. It's like the Bitcoin blockchain behind the scenes are doing all the heavy lifting, but yeah, it is good to test it end to end. It's like we've said, it's even good just to sometimes wipe your wallets and use your backup words and start again. Just to, you should always have multiple hardware wallets anyway with the same Bitcoin on. You should always duplicate them anyway, or just even if you're not going to wipe that one, get your spare one and fire your words into that one, and then just fire that up and then just reset it again, just to like see, can I start from a cold device using my words to pop the Bitcoin back up? It's just good. It helps you sleep at night if you're not doing it
you can
like
use all
once a
those
year.
kind of like dead ledgers lying around.
Exactly, yeah. They're handy for just checking, just to see if you can get it going again. Yeah, and that's close them down. But yeah, I must admit I was a bit disappointed. I was really hoping for this to be Ledger and Jade, and almost like, oh, okay, I regret
Well,
buying my
like I
Jades
said,
now. This
I
is
just think
this is the
I just
thing,
think
and I
this
left
is,
it.
you know, this is the V3, and it's not the ideal version, is it? Because
He started with the phone, hasn't he? And
yeah, we need
straight
to.
away when she going off the phone, I'm like, well, that's straight away. I assume that's compromised. So
yeah.
now I'm just, and basically I think the way it uses it is you tap the device on the back of the phone to like verify a transaction or something, and you just go,
Yeah, but
I'm
this
not
isn't.
typing. Not There's no keypad on the device. There's no buttons
That's
on
not
that
catered for you,
device.
though, is it? You
It's
know, it's
like, what is that doing, right? It's just a bit, yeah. So apparently, like his explanation for it was it's just a secure wallet, but for almost day-to-day spends. I go, I hate to tell you, Jack, but for day-to-day spends, I have Bitcoin held in a wallet that doesn't need a physical device that I carry around. It's just on my phone, right? It's just some sat in a Bitcoin wallet. And if I go to a Bitcoin event or somewhere that I know I'm going to spend Bitcoin, literally directly Bitcoin for the thing, I'll load that up with a couple of £100 worth of Bitcoin and I'll just spend it. And if someone was to hack my phone and steal that money off there, kind of so be it, really. I'm not going to spend 160 quid on a device that will stop me losing that money, but that's always a maybe. And I've held a couple of £100 worth of Bitcoin on my wallet probably for 6 years plus now, and I've never had a problem, bizarrely. So I could have technically had my whole stack on there, and it wouldn't have gone because.
and it's also day to day. I'm guessing this thing doesn't work on a Lightning network. That is on the main Bitcoin chain, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's
I would suspect so.
only.
Yeah, so it doesn't work for a day to day. Like I said, I just think this is the full retail. This is the boomer wallet. This is the one to get people moving. And maybe he has simplified it in order to get it down that avenue. It's not perfect, but it's probably better than an exchange.
Oh, it's definitely better than an exchange. It's very expensive though, right?
Yeah, especially
150.
like,
What did we pay for the Jades? Were they 70 or something like that?
no, they were
Having a look now, actually.
expensive. I'm sure it was along those
I know
lines.
that cold cards are a lot more
53
expensive.
quid.
Jades. Okay.
Gone down in price a lot, you know.
That's cool. I'll have to buy some more at some point.
£53 there on here now. We spent over 100 quid on them.
Yeah, especially with the shipping as well.
Yeah, because you have to go through the EU, don't you?
Yeah, I'm just looking through here. Like, yeah, you got Jade at 60 quid. You got Treasures at about 80. You got Ledgers at 70, and then you've got that at 160. And it's a no-brainer. Like, it's nearly 3 times the price, at least double.
But like I said, I think
it's good. It's just not.
it's
an inferior product.
It's a boomer ledger.
Unfortunately, I don't think anyone is going to buy that, and it's such a mist. I really
think
hope
he's
he
just
takes the
I think
feedback
he's
and goes, he needs to redo it completely, right? I get the fact he's starting with the phone and working back. He's got to put a screen on it. Nearly every single hardware wallet, version 1, didn't have a screen. And all these problems came out where everyone attacked Bitcoiners with changing either the fee or the send address. And because the device wasn't double checking it for you, you wouldn't know it'd gone the wrong place because the software you're looking at is all legit. It all looked fine, but you press send and it changes in the background and it sends a Bitcoin to a different place, or it takes the fee up to 100%. And you have to protect yourself from that. You have to assume your computer is compromised. So you have to have your little USB device double check it for you. The number one change he has to do is, well, there's two things he has to do: put a screen on it and get that price halved. And then maybe he's got to put it, but he needs to do more than that though. It's the same thing. But instead of looking like a USB or a small calculator, he's made it into a pebble. It's a bit, come on, it's not far enough of an evolution that I was expecting from Jack, because this product, right, all the products that have come before, proper like ground up, very small amounts of money in design. They've grinded that out. They've sold some, reinvested the money, redesigned it. He can afford, he's a multi-billionaire, right? He can afford the top guys, top designers. We were expecting a bit of well, I was expecting anyway, like we're all using Nokia phones and here comes the iPhone, right? We're all playing Snake and on our little keypads, and bang, the keypad's gone. It's all a screen and it's sexy, right? There's a number of things that are just materially better. There's no, it's an interesting shape, and that's all I've got. Everything else is worse. Not what I was expecting. So, oh well, he'll go. He can go again. The good thing is he can afford a product failure, so he can go again.
Yeah. So should we move on to some world-class FUD?
Yeah, let's do it.
The favorite FUDster, Jamie Dimon. Is that who pronounces his name? I always forget.
Yeah.
So I ever
Jamie
read it.
Dimon.
It's Demon.
So do we want to? Is it the click of fingers? Because it's quite a short clip.
And we're back.
Yeah, so
there we have it.
Jamie Dimon, it's like, I think it's my father-in-law pointed out an article where he had a moan about Bitcoin to me, and I just said to him, of course he's gonna have a moan, he's a banker. It's like a taxi driver opposes Uber's shock. It's his business. Like, he doesn't want to be part of business. And was I correct in thinking that we saw Lizzie W in the crowd there?
Oh, she's not in the crowd. She's asking the questions.
Yeah, so good old Lizzie W. And he talks about its only use cases is criminals for money laundering, tax evasion, drugs. But I'm kind of going, okay, you've named all these use cases, but didn't you used to bank at Jeffrey Epstein? Wasn't he one of your customers even after you got done the first time for being a nonce? And then also, in September 2020, JP Morgan admitted to committing wire fraud in connection with unlawful trading in the markets for precious metals future contracts and unlawful trading in the market for US Treasury futures contracts and in the secondary cash market for US Treasury notes and bonds. Almost criminal acts. Isn't that a crime?
Yeah. And how many people went to prison for that?
Oh, I think it's just a slap on the wrist fine. And
as always,
if I was a government, I would close it down, was his comment. And it's just like, you banked a nonce, and then you're also a criminal because you're partaking in criminal acts.
Yeah. There's not a bank out there that hasn't been fined billions at some point for exactly the things that he states. You know, terrorist financing, fraud, funding, like drug trafficking, like every big crime you can possibly list. There's not a bank out there that weirdly they don't even keep this under wraps.
Well, it's also you can trace that money as Chainalysis approved. So surely Bitcoin's actually better than the dollar because it's actually transparent.
Yeah, it's clear what they're doing here, right? They're obviously the government. We know what the government want to do. So what they do is Elizabeth Warren is sat on one side. They've clearly had loads of chats.
Big Liz.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw a tweet today where she gets paid to make 275 grand a year, yet her net worth is 67 million. Like, do the maths on that. Like, is she 480?
She ain't no Pelosi. Pelosi gets paid that and is worth 200 million.
Oh no, there's no one could beat Nancy, like the best trader in the world ever. But even Elizabeth Warren, it's like, how many thousands of years do you have to have lived to have earned that wealth? Like, it's just ridiculous. Clearly, she's bought and paid for. But these conversations, they're just ridiculous. They get the bankers in. They ask them questions, which are just softball questions, which is like, oh, what's your views on, you know, the safety and the KYC or fraud implications of Bitcoin? They've clearly chatted about before, and Jamie just goes on a diatribe of all the worst things that could happen ever with money, which all happens, by the way, in the financial world. 99% of those things happen with the US dollar, either with cash or the US banking system. It's not just
it happen. If you put it on a percentage of dollar versus Bitcoin, I bet you have a higher amount of dollars and fraud going through the dollar.
Oh, but and that's not even close. Like by a factor of 1,000.
Yeah. So you're not gonna solve this by banning Bitcoin, even though you can't even ban Bitcoin. But literally, it's like getting the taxi driver. So taxi driver, tell Congress what you think of Uber. Oh, local record shop owner, tell us what you think about the internet and play.com and how it's got no overheads and it's gonna fucking destroy you.
Yeah, you just be like, oh, it's risky, it's new, there's lots of fraud online. Loads of people are going to lose their money. If I was you, I'd shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. And they can operate from anywhere. They can launder money. And it's just a bit ridiculous that they've got someone like him in and asking about money.
Oh, and by the way, like this little clip is a very short clip where it's just on Jamie Dimon. There's a longer video because essentially they have the CEO of every US bank in a line, and Congress are asking them a load of questions about crypto, which we know they don't give a shit about crypto. They care about Bitcoin. And they asked them one by one. And they all said pretty much the same thing, which was, we would ban it. We would shut it down. So this is just purely...
This is so weird, though, because I was just listening and I haven't seen a position on Chase Bank buying Bitcoin, which is the key one, really, isn't it? Whereas every other bank behind the scenes, the BlackRocks of this world, they're all doing so. So it's a classic, don't trust what they say, trust what they do. And ultimately, I believe that the likes of Elizabeth Warren and her 12 million net worth will be doing this.
I don't think it's 12 million. I think it's more 60 million I've read previously.
Yeah, 67 mil. Yeah.
Oh, this must be an old article.
It's probably 2 years. It's probably 2 years old.
Yeah, she made a lot of money since she started bashing Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Larry thinking? Was Larry thinking that lineup?
No, he's not a banker, is he?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
But yeah, that's our next story. But this is what I think this is a switch to, though, is. Or Elizabeth Warren, like your favorite woman, she did our next story, and she starts talking about the classic FUD things about that relate to Bitcoin. But I do think this is them really ramping up their attack, where they're not.
The next one does chain into this. I'm guessing it's part of the same conversation with Big Liz.
Yeah, this is basically Big Liz being interviewed after that session, going.
So we might as well go to the next story. Is that how long's that clip? Is that another clip?
It's 3 minutes, and I don't want to give her too much airtime, so fuck that. and we just talk about it.
What I love about her FUD is she goes through all the classic FUD, and then she says, North Korea are buying nuclear weapons with Bitcoin, or is it just crypto?
They're funding half of their purchase of nuclear weapons with crypto.
What I love is it's a closed area, and literally all is government. They're like this. You can't get near them, otherwise they're going to be executed. They cannot say shit. How do you know how much they're spending, Big Liz? And then it's also, how the fuck would you even find that out? And who is accepting money, Bitcoin? Why would they have to hide it into Bitcoin? Why wouldn't they just use cash? They don't have to hide what they're doing. They're not going behind like their mum's back, are they?
Yeah, and who
Literally,
are they
like,
buying off? Like, there's not random people like on the black market going, "I've got a nuke for sale."
hey, mates.
like who are they going on to non-KYC Bitcoin exchanges with? Like, oh, I want to buy a nuke. Like, what the like, dude? Like, there's only a handful of people that can have the technology for nukes, and largely they're all under the US jurisdiction. So
Yeah.
if if they've got nukes, they probably brought them off the US with US dollars. So the only way that she probably knows that they paid half in crypto is because she fucking did the transaction herself. Like
Exactly.
literally accepted half of Bitcoin, half cash for a
But you
nuke
got
and sent
one.
it off to North Korea.
I doubt that North Korea would have crypto because of how he is. He's basically a dictator who wants to control everything. So why is he going to accept crypto into his country? And then two, like I said, why would he have to trade into it? And three, why would it matter? They can buy nukes with cash. It just doesn't make any sense, this claim.
On the crypto front, because there are certain cryptocurrencies in which you don't have to disclose your identity, I do think that they could launder money that way. I love finding out, and
they
Yeah,
got
but
exactly.
this is a whole country. This is what's his name? Kim Jong Un.
Kim Jong Un, yeah.
Yeah, saying that he's buying nuclear weapons with I don't know, Dink Doink or something. Or he's using some Doge. He's pulled out some Doge. He's like, check out my Doge, man.
Yeah.
I'm buying some crypto, buying some nukes with that. And it just makes no sense. Like, is he stacking sats and stacking shit coins as well?
Yeah, it's like saying that the US government are their nuclear program, they're paying that half in crypto. Like, it would make no sense because it's like, well, you'd have to actually buy crypto when you can just print dollars out of thin air. And it's the same in North Korea. They can print whatever their currency is out of thin air and do whatever the fuck they want with it. They're clearly already made themselves very publicly enemies of the West. So
well,
having
the
a
only thing
nuclear
with that
program
is
and being
no one
hostile.
accepts. Yeah, no one accepts their currency. That's the only thing, isn't it? So their currency is only good within their jurisdiction. Yeah. They need dollars, don't ultimately, because of the 160 currencies of the world, really the tradable dollars that are out there, the tradable currencies that are out there is probably euros or dollars. What else maybe that's out there? Probably, yeah, they're the main two, I would say. Maybe the pound as well. You could go to other places and people would accept pounds, but whilst they can, like you say, print the North Korean dollar, I don't know what they use out of the way. I'm sure someone will message in the comments. That's only good for them. So the documentary that I saw ultimately is that they want, and what they do is embezzlement. So embezzlement of giving stuff out that North Korea can provide, i.e. drugs or also human trafficking and labor, and that then brings money into the country that way. So when they are giving citizens to poorer countries to do the labor and the work, half of their wage goes back to Kim Jong-un. And that's how they do it that way.
Yeah, sounds quite similar to the US. Yeah, no, that does make sense actually. The fact that they might not have everything they need, and even though they have infinite Korean dollars,
Correct. Yeah.
they need to go buy something offshore because they're under the
Yes.
sanctions list. They can't buy
Correct.
anything, so they have to pretend to be a citizen for someone else,
Yes.
send
but,
them crypto to buy it. But I'm still wondering who the fuck this person is that is giving nukes out via crypto, right, without KYC in some shape or form. Because it's like
well,
there's only a few people that can sell parts for nuclear weapons.
but just think about it. Sanctions. America cares. Europe cares.
No
Does
one else
does
cares.
Asia give a shit? Does
No,
India go, oh no, Russia, we won't trade with you because you're on
no,
America's sanctions list? Go, how
Exactly.
much? They go, how
it's
much? Oh,
the
America
US
aren't buying. The
sanctions
price
list.
has gone down.
Essentially, it's the
Exactly.
US shit list of the countries that we don't like. It's not that
Yeah.
they're so yeah, you're right. Like
It's
the Middle
literally
East,
it's
the Middle
And
East
it,
and Asia don't give a shit about sanctions list because
no, it
half those
doesn't.
countries are on the list. So they are.
because
Correct.
is it like the G8, so Canada, US, Germany, France, UK, countries like that will stick together on the sanctions list, whereas South America don't give a shit, Asia
Yeah.
don't give a shit, Russia don't give a shit, and probably half of Eastern Europe don't give a shit. So you kind of think Russia, China, India, they'll all do nuclear. So if North Korea wants to buy some, it's like, oh, you're a bit dodgy. So it's 25% more. Oh, we want to
Yeah.
pay in North Korean, whatever the hell they're called. No. Have you got any rubles? Because we'll take rubles off you. And we'll be like, oh, yeah, we have because we trade with Russia for whatever raw material it was. So I just think, like I said, I just think it's nonsense. And how the hell would America know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, here's your scenario. So, the Middle East want to continue to westernize their territories, and they've got a population of people, but not great. But Kim Jong Un has got a population of people who he can dictate and control, and say, right, well, you want that new fancy building being built on time, great. I've got some people I can send to you, which are North Korean people. They'll do it. And, that is how, when they build that, we get what we want in terms of the illegal weapons of mass destruction of nuclear weapons in exchange for it. We have to kind of, I know we're probably going to get cancelled, but we have to kind of think like this. The normal type of transactions are not happening.
Yeah, and the thing is though, let's just assume this is all true, right? This is exactly still why Bitcoin exists.
Correct.
America is getting triggered the fact that North Korea have a way around their sanctions. So
Yeah.
let's just assume that the scenario that exactly of why the American sanctions list exists for is to stop
Well,
countries like North
it's
Korea
because,
buying.
yeah, because North Korea are really naughty and America are really good and they've never done anything wrong.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
they uphold all the morals and values which we should take forward in our lives.
exactly. That they've never invaded, they've never killed an innocent person.
They've never encouraged coups in Pakistan and Ecuador or in Chile,
Yeah, they haven't enforced the petrodollar on hundreds of millions of people, killing millions in the process and
Yeah, they
devaluing,
never killed the presidents in Ecuador and Panama.
causing famines and
Yeah, they haven't done it in Sierra Leone as well. They also
Didn't kill
didn't
their
kill.
own president, JFK, either.
no,
No,
so
well, that's a
as
conspiracy theory. You've
as
just gone
we
too far
yeah,
now.
no, but as we clearly established, America is absolutely right in everything that they have done. But let's just play it out and go, yeah, okay. So America is the greatest nation ever, and they have their sanctions list, which are legit. But you've got an enemy here over here with North Korea who want to buy nukes off a country essentially that wants to sell them to them, but they don't want to get in trouble for selling them to them because they know that North Korea are on a sanctions list and they have nuclear weapon parts that they do want to sell, but don't want to get in trouble with the US. Because if they do, they'll get spanked and they might get some freedom bombs dropped on their heads. So they essentially go, you know what, we'll do the transaction, but we can't do it through the traditional banking system. We'll do it through Bitcoin. and we will send you a nuke, but pay in Bitcoin and we'll send it to you. This is literally the use case for Bitcoin, right? This, like, all these people hate it. They don't want people to have their privacy and just their freedom of transactions. We talk about freedom of speech, but in Bitcoin, we talk about the freedom of money and go, you should be able to send money to anyone, anywhere, anytime, regardless of what your government thinks of that person or that country. And without her really probably realizing, it's like, this is the exact use case that Bitcoin was designed for, right? It's obviously, as a Bitcoiner, I don't want nuclear war. I don't want people buying nukes and all that kind of stuff. It's unfortunate, but Jesus, like, America only triggered that North Korea are buying them because they don't. They want to be the only ones that have them, right? They're just the bully in the playground that's got a hammer, and they're a bit triggered that the other guy on the other side of the playground has just got a hammer as well. It's like, you're both shithouses, and it'd be I'd rather you all just fucking throw the hammers away and we forget that hammers were invented. But we can't put the genie back in the bottle. Nuclear weapons exist now. She's really just got to hope these nation states don't start firing them off when they start to collapse. But Bitcoin's for the enemies. You're allowed to buy nukes with Bitcoin. That is the whole point of it. You can't censor transactions. You can't confiscate Bitcoin. So, like, she thinks she's almost selling like a FUD piece here where, like, people are funding nuclear weapon programs with Bitcoin. You go, well, yeah, because you can't fucking stop it. That's the whole use case of Bitcoin. Because you can't stop me sending my Bitcoin to anyone in the world. Whereas if I put my money in my bank account and I send out the wrong tweet, or I get arrested for not being jabbed or something, you can freeze my bank account. If I protest against the government, just like the truckers did, you can freeze my bank and just cut me off from the world. And no matter how much money I have in there, you can take it from me, but my Bitcoin you can't, and you fucking hate it. That's the whole reason why Bitcoin exists. Yet they seem to be pitching that as that's a bug. We're like, no, mate, that's a feature. That's exactly what we want from Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's for enemies as well as our friends. And fucking deal with it. This is the free economy, the free market. Your bollocks sanctions lists and KYC, AML bollocks, trying to like block people, freeze people's bank accounts. It's not going to work in the new version of the world. It's just not. It doesn't work in Bitcoin.
Well, we're seeing that more and more, aren't we, with people being deplatformed. And so the rise, therefore, of Bitcoin will just continue to have a place in the world because it's uncensorable.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to make the point before, but it's very super quick. It's like, I think we're definitely going into the phase, like it's the phases of they laugh at you, then they ignore you, then they fight you, and then you win.
What is it? Is it ignore then laugh, or laugh then ignore? I can't remember which way
around. Anyway,
but yeah, it does seem like the fight. Like, it does seem to have stepped up a little bit with this, but
yeah,
it's a shit flinging. North Korea used this, and what else? We had boiling oceans, and then the ESG report came out and found out that Bitcoin was very ESG compliant, or whatever you want to call it, which was hilarious. But it is unavoidable. Wasted energy, resources, and so on, and it can be used to deal with overloaded grids, etc. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they say next. Maybe we'll wait and see what the next piece of FUD is, because I wouldn't have guessed North Korea in my bullshit bingo this week.
But my message to all the plebs would purely just be that this is the time to stack. Like, if you're holding off buying Bitcoin, waiting for dips or doing whatever, like, this is the time to buy, because right now you can buy a Bitcoin and you can send it to your hardware wallet largely with no problems. I honestly think if we fast forward a year, maybe less, it's going to be much harder. If you fast forward another year, it might be impossible. So getting Bitcoin to a hardware wallet, absolute, like, this is peak time. Like, no matter how much money you've got set on the sidelines, I want a DCA over a certain period, this time next year I'm going to get into some money, I'll stack then. Do it now. Like, it's not even.
And not only that, I'll get it off the ledger I'll get it off the exchange when I think I've got enough
Well, what's the world share? So what was it? Break Bitcoin into sats for
69.
every person. How many sats was it?
I mean, it's 26,000.
Yeah, so 26,000. And what's the buy price of that?
It was $69, so I think it'd be about
Yeah.
250 now. I think it's gone up significantly.
Yeah, so I think it's, well, I won't say everyone because obviously what the governments have done lately with inflation has fucked everyone over, but try and get proportion of Bitcoin in. Start with what you can afford and just build up.
Yeah, it was just even a small amount, as which we said at the time was
And just
$69
and
was
just
more than enough.
watch for the next 18 months and see what happens.
Yeah, but I seriously thinking. I was talking about this on Twitter today. We've talked about the confiscation of gold and what happened to the gold standard. They
But
knew that.
the confiscation, it's got to be deemed as an appropriate asset by that point, Mo.
Oh,
Yeah,
So I feel like I don't know what chess move they're going to play to be able to confiscate Bitcoin or
yeah.
even just stop it.
no,
Well,
it won't be.
go on.
It'll be a little bit of be both it's made illegal, and we would like for you to then send it to a place for it to not be illegal. So you'll have a time period of, it's like a knife amnesty or something like that. And the knife amnesty is, we know you've got it and it's okay, it's fine. And just send it to here for now and we'll give it you back. Or it'll be safe. You won't be in the bad category for people. For those that do continue to hold it, we're coming after you.
Yeah.
They can't, but they'll try.
Yeah, it's just pure fear tactics, and
Yeah.
it's exactly what they did. I literally tweeted it out today. I'm gonna find the tweet because essentially it is. I will get the number for them now. Executive Order 6102, banning the holding of gold, and criminal penalties for violation of executive order. Essentially, you weren't allowed to hold more than an ounce of gold at home. You had to give it to the bank. And don't worry, you'll get a certificate of dollars that matches 1-to-1 for your proportion of gold. Criminal penalties for violation of this executive order, $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment, or both. And this was sent out in 1933. So imagine how much $10,000 is in 1933. Yeah, that is essentially all of your money. And I can't imagine there was more than like the top 0.1% that had $10,000 just lying around. So essentially, what this order says is that we will take all your money and 10 years imprisonment if you hold just more than an ounce of gold. So what happened during this, just to play out the game theory, right, is these threats worked. There was no way that they could actually execute this order. There was hundreds of millions of Americans that owned gold in America when this order got put live. They all had way more than an ounce of gold at home, and this is their life savings. There was no way of them coming around house to house and checking. You just hide it, right? Just hide it. But what happened? The people were terrified by this. They picked up their gold, they took it down to their bank, and they exchanged it for bits of paper, essentially IOUs, that said, "Don't worry, $1 to 1 bit of gold." And hence the fiat standard started, and eventually gold got taken off fiat. These bits of paper and IOUs weren't even related to the gold anymore, and we ended up in the world that we are in now. This is what I believe is the same trick they will try with Bitcoin, but I think they're trying two different types. I mean, the BlackRock ETF is a huge psyops where you are almost voluntarily giving up your fiat and buying Bitcoin, but you're almost directly doing this. You're directly just getting an IOU for Bitcoin. You don't have the Bitcoin, you can't take the self-custody. So I think they're fine. And I think if the majority of the money goes into the ETF, they just go, we don't even need to make Bitcoin illegal. We already freaking own it because the majority of the money is sat here. But if that doesn't work, they will put out an order similar to this to go, look, it's fine holding Bitcoin, but you've got to send it back to the exchange, or you need to send it to the ETF. Hold it there. That's where you can, and it's essentially pushing you into going, the only reason you hold Bitcoin is for fiat gains. So when you feel like you've made enough money in Bitcoin, sell it for fiat, and that's all good. They don't want us holding the asset going, no, no, no. Like, we're holding this asset because we are taking the whole lot. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over, as the famous Conor McGregor once said. And they know that. So I think a version of this executive order from 1933, 6102, is coming again.
Right.
On that positive note, should we move on to some key product news for the world of Bitcoin? For those who missed out on yield, your chances to get some yield again. I can't believe this opportunity's come around. So this is a startup who was I think, oh yeah, they were associated by everyone's favorite crypto billionaire, Sam Altman. What was it? Sam Altman-Fried? Was that his name? No, Sam Bank.
No, this is a different person, right?
Oh, I got
Yeah,
mixed up.
yeah, because you do want to think, oh, straight away Sam Bankman-Fried, but no, Sam Altman is somebody different.
Yeah,
got
this is
mixed
a
up.
different Sam Altman. Yeah, this is the guy that
AI.
co-founded OpenAI with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got mixed up.
ChatGPT.
But yeah,
guy.
and another intro into it. He has backed yield making company. I mean, what could go wrong with a yield making company from Bitcoin? Doesn't everyone want to risk all their Bitcoin in sats to make 5%, which is lower than inflation? I want to risk everything. Just that 5%, which I could get a higher amount in bonds.
And as always, it's always the question, isn't it? It's like, well, hold on, Bitcoin doesn't inflate. So, like when banks give you 5%, let's just say banks give you 5%. It's like, oh yeah, that's because interest rates are 7. All makes sense. Like, money is inflating at 7, 8, 9%. So they're giving me 5% interest. All makes sense because essentially they're giving me money that is just still less than what I had before. So they're investing it in things that make 7 and they're giving me 5. I get that. That transaction makes sense. And basically that deal is I lose money the longer I am in this deal. So that's a good deal that I get because it's like, oh, you're scamming me to my face. So fine. I get it. I get the scam.
So what you're saying to the listeners is everything's fine. They should take this deal.
No, in this deal, it doesn't make sense, right? Because they're giving you 5% on your Bitcoin. You go, right, well, this is a problem now because Bitcoin does not inflate by 5% a year. So where are you getting the extra 5% of Bitcoin to give me?
I think this is when we see they're preempting the bull market, aren't they? So the bull market, which we believe is going to be caused by the ETF, thrown into the halving, thrown into further retail. So we've potentially got, whenever that ETF launches, we've potentially got a couple of years where things might go a bit mental.
One Bitcoin worth 1 Bitcoin now. Like,
yeah, but they're utilizing it by, what is it? The what's the correct term for it? Basically gambling within the Bitcoin market by saying, oh, you do this. They probably got, I can't remember what they're called, but basically bets on Bitcoin by using it, or also trade. So we saw this before with what was that name of that company which they all backed, which fell over?
BlockFi.
Celsius.
Yeah. So BlockFi was the main one, and that was based upon basically them gambling and then Bitcoin increasing in value. And like I said, we're going to see 2 years, so this will look spectacular for the next couple of years. But when we see the bear market, that's when you see things fall apart. But 2 years of massive profits, and everyone's probably they won't get taken down for company. It'll just be the company which goes bankrupt. The Bitcoin gets locked in the company to go into administration. The owners walk away with probably billions by that point. But you've gained 5% in your Bitcoin for the last 2 years. But you've actually just locked, so you've gained what, 10%? Well, not even 10%, it's probably about 7.5% or so.
The yield would be denominated in Bitcoin. So
Yeah, but say if you pull it out is what I'm saying. So whatever that is, I can't think of that in my head. But say if it was 10%, I know that's wrong. But say over 2 years, you get that 10%, you take it out, but actually you've just lost 90% of your input because you lost your Bitcoin because the company's gone under yet again. It's
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
Every single yield company has gone under.
Yeah.
Oh, I managed to afford an Aston Martin because the payments were being paid by my Bitcoin, which was getting a yield. When you lost fucking Bitcoin, you dickhead.
Fucking Pedro.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Dylan Leclerc, whose tweet this is, who like announces that, or kind of finds this, because obviously Sam Altman is like, he's the darling of the tech space right now, isn't he? Like obviously leading open AI.
But it's been done before. Like we're only
Oh.
just seeing.
Yeah, he's just raised 100 million.
But we're just
But he
sweeping
was
up
ousted, wasn't he,
wreckage.
as well, from ChatGPT,
Yeah,
right?
4 days later, he got put back in.
Ah, right, I missed
The
that.
board got sacked, which was really fucking weird.
Yeah, no one knows like what he did to deserve to be fired in the first place. But then
Yeah.
they've been acquired by Microsoft, so Microsoft stepped in and went, "No, Sam Altman is like our little poster boy. We don't want him out. What's he done?" And for whatever reason, just went, "No, no, no. We don't. We disagree. You're gone, and he's back." So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. And yeah, so he's raised 100 million to start this thing, and yeah, and Dylan Leclerc has just pretty much said what you said, or which is essentially you can already see what plays out here, where they raise a load of money, they get all the this money plows in because Sam Altman in the tech space is the
Yeah.
new darling, right? Everything he touches goes to gold. So of course, if he brings out a Bitcoin ETF or this Bitcoin fund, like this yield product, of course everyone's going to dump their money in, and he's going to bet on the ETF. He's going to need to make his at least 6%, right? Because he needs to pay out 5. So he has to trade his Bitcoin, and he's going to position it based on the ETF. He's going to try and bet on the pumps and the dumps, and eventually they're going to get one epically wrong, lose all the funds, and
But
everyone
it's
loses
if a
100% of their funds.
prediction, which is what Dylan Clare said, is 2 years. It's going to look fucking spectacular. He's going to look like the fucking brains of the crypto world, just like scam Bankman Freed or whatever his name is. And just like the guys at BlockFi, they're going to look fucking amazing. When 2 years, when Bitcoin enters a bear market, surprise, surprise, motherfuckers, it goes down. You know, this is my.
Yeah.
It's an easy prediction to make, and for
It,
two
it,
years, he's going to make billions. He's going to make so
it
much fucking
feels
money.
like the SPAC days, doesn't it? And then also the initial coin offering. So we're moving back into that time once again.
We're
And
seeing it early because it's
yeah, but we're
usually
seeing
half a
it
year to a
early.
year after the halving.
Correct.
And
Correct.
the halving is it due May on the current rates?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got 5 months to go, and we're starting to see the shit which usually occurs a year after the halving.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's already trying to be a genius going, oh, I'm just going to go leverage long on Bitcoin because of the ETFs coming. You're like, oh, you're such a genius. But yeah, it's only going to last so long. And yeah, if anyone promises you to pay you more Bitcoin for giving your Bitcoin to them, be super skeptical. You go, there
Anything
is
which
no easy,
involves
like dollars and pounds and euros are easy to come by. They're constantly inflating, and $1 today is worth $2 in like a couple of years time. So it's like the dollars is getting printed out fucking so fast that you need to just the fact that someone you gave them $1 and then 5 years later they give you $2, you're like, oh my god, that's so good. It's like, well, no, because the spending power of the two is still less than the one that you had before. So that person made you no money. You're literally still behind where you were before. You just don't understand inflation. Bitcoin doesn't do that. So if anyone says, give me 0.1 Bitcoin now, and in 5 years' time, like I'll give you 0.2, you go, nah, that sounds dodgy because Bitcoin doesn't inflate like that. So what are you doing behind the scenes with my Bitcoin to be able to give me more back? And the answer nearly every single time will be, I'm fucking gambling it.
Down at the craps casino.
But what happens if you gamble and lose? Oh, you lose everything. Right. I'm not sure. What if I put all my money on red and black, and if I win, I get 5% more. If I lose, I lose 100%. That's a bit of a shitty bet. So I think I'll hold the Bitcoin and keep it to myself.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's happened before, and it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, you get a better return off a fucking government bond than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it won't stop people doing it, which is the crazy thing, right?
I was wondering what the new craze is going to be for the next bull run. And it looks like it's going to be the same shit, isn't it?
Always need a new craze.
Because the yield was almost... Actually, would we say that it's secondary or tertiary? Because we had the other initial coin offerings, which was a big thing in the last one.
That's 20
but we also did in the last one. You think about the amount of shit coins, and we had NFTs as well. So, what would you say was the biggest craze? Was it NFTs or was it the yield?
Oh right. Last year was
NFTs.
Oh. Yeah, NFTs was the biggest one for money, but then I think Bitcoin related though. Definitely, there's like plenty of Bitcoins got sucked into yield and lost everything.
Well, maybe the yield is going to go throughout the whole crypto industry on this one, because like I said, it's kind of like, what is the prediction for this bull run? What stupid fucking fad is going to take the shine off it?
Well, I think what's happened here, I think this is yield 2.0, isn't it? Like before, it was all these made up companies that only did crypto yield, and all their founders were crypto people. Maybe this one is, oh no, some big boys come in and do crypto.
Oh, we're going to use AI to predict it. And it's just like, what are we going to do, AI? We're going to go, look at the ETF and halving and add 2 years on
it. I see AI as one of those things where back in the day when you used to put I in front of something, it made it look cool.
Yeah, I and E. Yeah, originally it was E.
Exactly, yes.
It was iPhone, iPod, iPad.
Correct. Yeah.
And then we had, E, which is electronics, email, and everything else.
Yeah. AI is that new cool buzzword that if you do that, we can do everything, can't we? It's like, really?
Yeah, you just put it at the end of your domain name. Whatever your business is, put ..
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're like the new groundbreaking company.
Yeah, they're going to make me so much money. 5% of money. Yes.
The thing is that will rope people in though, like Sam's name attached to it. He's obviously super Silicon Valley, all the VCs. You just know there's so many people. It's so predictable. So before the fund's even launched, every Bitcoiner can go, it's going to be massive. It's going to make loads of short-term gains. Then it's going to implode and everyone loses everything. We've seen this play out a dozen times.
It's funny. We've got all these topics and we'll move on to the final topic shortly, but I'm thinking in my head, just what's going to be as the tab on the video now? Because we had all these great, do you have the crazy Christian guy who wants to ban anything which he doesn't agree with? Do you have the new shitty wallet from Jack Dorsey, which is going to lose all your money? Do you want to have Jamie Dimon, who's ramping up his Bitcoin hate? Do you want Big Lizzie? Do you want to go about Yield 2.0 and include Sam Altman? Or do you go about the final story, Satoshi? He disappeared. Well, it'll be, as we mentioned before we started, 13 years to the day by the time which this video is launched.
Yeah, December 13th, 2010. 4:45 in the morning. I know in the afternoon, sorry. 4:45 in the afternoon was his last ever post on Bitcoin Talk. Satoshi Nakamoto signed off, never to speak again.
It's bizarre. It's one of these big mysteries, isn't it? But it's better that he did.
Yeah.
You know, you think about the founder of Monero, he was dragged in and to try so they could get through his levels of secrecy. And then I always forget how to spell his name. That guy, Ethereum, Vitalik.
Yeah, Vitalik Buterin.
That's yeah. Go on, just keep misspelling his name. Like, it's funny. Like, just keep going.
But you kind of think, he's. I don't know if he has been compromised because he just comes up with fucking bizarre things for Ethereum to do. And you kind of think this is the best thing which could have happened to Bitcoin is the founder, the person who designed it, just to disappeared off the face of the earth so he couldn't be compromised. Who knows? Was it someone who was dying? Is it someone who's still alive? Or is it a collection of people? No one knows, and it's an absolute mystery, which is great.
Yeah, actually, we actually are correct, Like the original tweet is wrong. So it's December 12th is his last post, 2010, and it's actually 6:22 p.m. And Satoshi's post is so just innocuous. It's like, so whether he was dying at the time, whether he was being hunted down, like who knows what was happening to Satoshi's life. He's literally responding to a post about added some DOS limits, were moved to safe mode to a version of Bitcoin. And so if you scroll down on the tweet that we've linked, there's a screenshot of his last post. And he's just going, there's more work to be done on DOS. I'm doing a quick build of what I have so far in case it's needed. Being venturing into more complex ideas. The build for this is version 0.3.19. Added some DOS controls. It removed safe mode alerts. Safe mode alerts a temporary measure for 0.3.9 overflow plug. It is the innocuous
name. Yeah.
It is a technical chat between developers going, this is just what I'm working on right now. I agree with this. I've changed that. I've changed this. It's like in the middle of a conversation, right? About a very just mundane thing. There's no big, I really need to offload some critical information to you. He's like, literally in the middle of a conversation.
Is this screenshotted the one you're reading?
Yeah.
So you read,
yeah.
No, I mean, as in, is it Photoshop? So you read merited by, second line down, middle, ETF Bitcoin.
Oh, I'm not reading that screenshot, no.
Yeah, because there's a screenshot. I'm kind of going, what the hell?
No, I don't know what you're reading there.
That's crypto tag. So there's crypto tag of put a screenshot in halfway down. Which one did you just read?
Oh yeah, crypto tag, yeah.
So it's
one.
a distribution list at the top. It's got ETF Bitcoin. I'm kind of like, well, I think that's someone pissing around, isn't it?
Yeah, no, weird. It's Crypto Unity that was posted. I believe anyway the original last tweet.
Oh yeah, it's similar to that. I think someone's just doctored it to below.
Oh, it looks like the same message. Where I'm not sure where you're seeing.
So see at the top it says merited by. I don't really know what it means, but second line and about halfway through, ETF Bitcoin is one of the usernames.
Oh right, well that might be legit, yeah, because it's the same. It's the same message.
Yeah, but it's ETF Bitcoin. I'm kind of going.
Well, yeah, back then we were talking about an ETF. Absolutely, we were.
Yeah, but this was 2010, surely not.
Pretty much, yeah. Literally, I remember coming into Bitcoin. Well, admittedly, this is 2015. We're talking ETF then. Yeah. This ETF thing has been knocking around forever.
But there's also the rumors that Satoshi was Hal Finney.
Yeah.
And so Hal Finney died in 2014, which obviously not nice for him. But if it was the case, then it, in a way, it is good for Bitcoin, so he couldn't be compromised again. So it's kind of like that ideal birth. And then there's also the other theory, but it's Craig Wright.
Yeah.
Which not even Craig Wright believes is true.
No, come on. But no, it's a good opportunity just to go, say thank you to Satoshi once again. Because something happened 13 years ago, what meant Satoshi stopped posting. He helped, obviously he launched the product 14 and a bit years ago. And he helped and answered so many questions for about a year. Well, just over a year, and answered everyone's questions. How do you set up a miner? How do you do wallets? How do you do transactions? Everything. And he was just there. and then he just disappeared. And it was this literally today, 13 years ago, he just disappeared. We have no idea what happened to Satoshi back then. I hope he's still alive and kicking somewhere, and just watching that little baby that he released when he disappeared in 2010. And I bet he can't believe, like, hopefully, what it's turned into. And there's 3 random plebs fucking over here chatting about his creation, just being like,
weekly.
Yeah, like
weekly, publicly, daily, behind the scenes.
Yeah, you've changed the world's lives. Like, literally by that bit of code that you created, it gave us all hope. It's like, without Bitcoin, I honestly would be looking at the world now going, I don't know even what to do. I'd be literally buying lumps of shiny metals called gold and just storing that somewhere, going, if everything collapses, I've got some gold. I don't fucking know what I'm going to do with this gold. Like, really? Like,
you kind of think, what would be the evolution of kind of like crypto? Because obviously crypto kind of like was started.
Who knows? It might never have existed without Satoshi.
Yeah, but you kind of think the evolution was going just a lot slower. It'd been going since, was it the 80s or the 90s when they'd started these kind of like things?
Oh, yeah.
But it's just that Bitcoin definitely made it, I suppose, very mainstream, didn't it? It certainly wouldn't be where it was now. But
cryptography's been around. Yeah, cryptography's been around for years, but then, iteratively, they then got to the stage of creating Bitcoin. But one of the key things I think about is, where will Bitcoin be in 20 years, 30, 50 years, and so on? Because prior to now, it's always been gold as like the main one, to Mr. Orlin's point, buying that shiny rock, or silver. Those two have outlasted everything. And I'd be really interested to see, for the time that I'm here on the planet Earth, where and how can it outlast everything. So we're moving into this digital age. We certainly needed something that was fast to be able to transact, and that was digital, and it ticks all of those boxes. But is there anything else that comes after it? I don't think so. But will it stay around for so long? That's the key point that I'm trying to make.
These are the questions which drive us wild.
They do. They really do drive me. Literally, it drives me wild. Yeah. Because someone's going to have to think of something that is better than Bitcoin, which already has such a huge market mass and the decentralization of it. And despite your Jamie Dimons of this world and the Elizabeth Warrens of this world and every other... yeah, Big Lizzie. They're trying to poo-poo it. It's never happened.
Yeah, it's the hardest money. We talk about this one, and I think it's just what does money need, and it ticks all the boxes. I mean, it's also what's really important is, to me, is the decentralization, the fact that one person can't control it or a government can't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have bought all these miners. Oh yeah, you have taken over the network. Oh, it's hard forked. But all the Bitcoiners and everyone else is just using the old fork, and you're using your own, along with your 5 people in government. So it's just, I don't know what you call that, but it just seems like there's no potential win for the government. They could waste all the money which they have, but they could end up in a losing position every time, because no one will adopt the network, which is beautiful, even if they can get all the power to take over it.
Money only evolves about every 500 years. We've had fiat for about 500. We had gold for about 500. So it's something will replace Bitcoin, but we're only 14 years into its 500-year legacy. So unless you think you're going to live to 500 plus, you're pretty much good just for buying Bitcoin and holding it and forgetting about it. And it's our grandkids that need to be switched on, going, what's the next thing? Like the money's about to change again. There will be a new thing. Who knows? We might be living in a AI metaverse, fucking weird thing, interplanetary, da da da. And suddenly now Bitcoin and the mining of blocks is too slow between Earth and Mars and da da da. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
right.
Just
There's
think about the level of
case now.
psyops which would be going on in that year.
Oh my god.
What kind of shit would we'd be trying to pull out then?
Well, hopefully, if we want a Bitcoin standard, there won't be
It's stopped.
too
Yeah,
many.
we got minimal government, and they're just gagging to get rid of the Bitcoin so they can get back in power
Yeah,
and start spreading all the propaganda.
yeah, and we can't even imagine the technology that needs to be invented to make a better version of Bitcoin. It's literally it's the
yeah.
equivalent of giving a caveman an iPhone and just throwing it at his feet and going, "What's that?" He wouldn't have a fucking clue, right? You just throw it, throw it. You think it's a rock, right? And he's like, "It's connected to the internet, bro." He's like, well, "What's that?" I don't know. He can't speak. He doesn't have language. So it's the equivalent of trying to get into. We are cavemen right now, trying to predict what the next Bitcoin is, and we can't. We literally can't. Like, this is Satoshi built the best form of money for the internet age, and this is what we got, and it works. It's super sound, super hard, works, and it will be evolved past eventually, but likely in 486 years time. So
Yeah.
I know we talk about fucking low time preference and stuff, and even the most low time preference person listening to this, if you have a time preference over 500 years, then maybe sell your Bitcoin and buy this new thing that you think's coming out, but you might be a little bit early. So I think Bitcoin has its time to come yet.
Right. Well, there we have it. That was pod 123, brought to you by the usual suspects. Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the people's champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the excellence of execution, and Mrs. No Show. Still, Mrs. No Show. Peace.